Queen Elizabeth II owned one of the most magnificent jewelry collections in the world. Hundreds of tiaras, necklaces, and brooches gathered over 2 centuries of British history. Yet among all this splendor were pieces she seemed to quietly avoid. She admired them, treasured them, even lent them to other women, but never wore them herself. Why? Perhaps she didn't see herself reflected in their brilliance. Or maybe she believed that some jewels were meant to shine on others. In this video, we'll open those rare pages of the royal jewelry vault, where time itself seemed to stand still. The pieces that waited for decades before seeing the light again. From youthful gifts to diamonds that only glittered anew on her granddaughters, we'll uncover how the Queen decided which treasures would remain truly her own and which she would graciously pass on to the next generation of royal women. Before we begin, please support my channel by clicking on the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you. Our first journey into this puzzle begins with a gift that should have been one of the most personal in the Queen's collection. Let's travel back to 1936. The Duke of York, the future King George VI, purchased a delicate diamond creation from Cartier for his wife Elizabeth. Made in the summer of that year, it's a beautiful band of 16 graduated scrolls, set with over 700 brilliant cut diamonds. Elizabeth wore it a few times in those early years, but it never quite became one of her signature pieces. It was clear this tiara had another path ahead. That new role began in the spring of 1944. For her daughter Princess Elizabeth's 18th birthday, the Queen decided to pass the tiara on. It was a deeply thoughtful gesture during the austerity of wartime. In a letter to Queen Mary, she wrote, "I am giving Lilibet a small diamond tiara of my own for her 18th birthday. It is almost impossible to buy anything good." And yet, remarkably, the future Queen Elizabeth II was never once photographed wearing her birthday present. Not once. This delicate piece ended up fulfilling a very different purpose. Instead of wearing it herself, Elizabeth turned the halo tiara into a sort of traveling crown for the younger women in her family. The first to borrow it was her dazzling sister, Princess Margaret, who debuted it at the inauguration celebrations for Queen Juliana of the Netherlands in 1948. On the grandest day of her sister's life, her coronation in 1953, it was Margaret who sat in the carriage, sparkling in Elizabeth's unworn tiara. A few years later, the tiara was passed to the next young princess in line, the Queen's only daughter, Anne. She wore it for her very first tiara appearance at the state opening of Parliament in 1967, and continued to wear it in the early 1970s. But once Princess Anne, like Margaret before her, moved on to larger sparklers, the halo tiara went quiet. It disappeared into the vault, unseen for many, many years, its chapter as a starter tiara seemingly over. After almost 40 years unseen, it returned to the spotlight at Prince William and Catherine's wedding in 2011. The choice couldn't have been more fitting. A tiara once made for a future queen mother, passed to a future queen, and now worn by yet another future queen on her wedding day. In that moment, Queen Elizabeth wasn't just a grandmother. She was a curator of history, selecting the perfect jewel to signal continuity and welcome a new generation. If the halo tiara tells a story about the Queen's own Windsor lineage, our next piece comes from the other side of the family, a sparkling reminder of the heritage Prince Philip brought into the House of Windsor. It's a beautiful diamond bandeau, instantly recognizable for its classic Greek key pattern, which is why it's known as the meander tiara. Its story with our Queen begins in 1947, and it's a truly touching one. It was a wedding gift to the then Princess Elizabeth from her new mother-in-law, Princess Alice of Battenberg, or as she was known by then, Princess Andrew of Greece and Denmark. It was a piece of her new husband's heritage, a Greek jewel for a woman who was marrying a prince of Greece. The design is exquisite. That iconic Greek key, or meander, is punctuated by a central laurel wreath and 2 honeysuckle elements, all crafted in diamonds. We don't know for certain when Princess Alice acquired it, but the earliest photographs we have of her wearing it date to around 1914. Geoffrey Munn, a great jewelry expert, argues that the tiara was likely made around the turn of the century in France, perhaps even by Cartier. And this is where we come to that fascinating pattern again. Elizabeth was never photographed wearing this tiara. Once she became queen, her taste shifted toward grander pieces. We'll likely never know for sure, but it seems this tiara was simply destined for a different path. Because the tiara wasn't left to gather dust. Instead, it was passed on to Princess Anne, who still owns the piece today. It was officially given to her by her mother in 1972, and she has worn it faithfully ever since, for state functions and official portraits. It became one of her most reliable and elegant choices. But the tiara's most prominent outing in recent years was at a moment of great family joy, at the wedding of Anne's daughter, Zara Phillips, in 2011. Zara paired her great-grandmother's tiara with her veil for her Scottish wedding, paying a beautiful tribute to her lesser-known royal heritage. It's wonderful when a jewel finds its perfect home, isn't it? A beautiful reminder of the Mountbatten legacy. But the royal vaults are filled with stories of a different kind. Stories of treasures that don't find a home for decades, waiting in complete silence for their moment. And the journey of our next tiara is a perfect example of this. It's a piece that waited so long, an entire generation of royal watchers simply forgot it existed. Its journey begins, as so many do, with the great collector herself, Queen Mary. For her wedding in 1893, she received a petite diamond cluster brooch from the county of Lincoln. For nearly 40 years, it was a quiet, classic jewel pinned to her gowns. But Queen Mary was the great architect of the royal collection. She saw potential where others saw a finished piece. So, in 1932, she commissioned Garrard to create this elegant, flexible bandeau tiara, specifically to showcase that very brooch as its centerpiece. It is pure Art Deco in its style, 11 sections of brilliant diamonds set in platinum, with a clean geometric design that feels incredibly modern even today. Queen Mary wore her new bandeau occasionally, usually for less formal evening events like film premieres. Then, when Queen Mary died in 1953, she bequeathed the tiara to her granddaughter, Queen Elizabeth II. And this is where the jewel's story goes completely silent. For an incredible 65 years, it remained in the royal vaults, unseen by the public. 65 years. Through all those decades of state banquets and gala performances, Queen Elizabeth II never once chose to wear this elegant piece herself. And then came that moment on May 19, 2018. As Meghan Markle stepped out of her car at St. George's Chapel for her royal wedding, the world saw it again. After more than half a century in darkness, the diamond bandeau was back. The Duchess herself later recalled choosing the tiara with Prince Harry at Buckingham Palace. "I was very fortunate to be able to choose this gorgeous Art Deco-style bandeau tiara," she said. "That was the one that stood out." Her choice of a piece unseen for so long was a true surprise, and for many, a perfect one. Its clean, elegant lines perfectly complemented her minimalist gown. The Queen once again played the role of the perfect curator, matching a forgotten jewel with its perfect modern moment. It was a wonderful surprise, a piece we had all forgotten. You start to realize just how deep the royal vaults truly are. And sometimes what's hidden inside isn't just forgotten, it's a complete secret. After Princess Margaret's death in 2002, a tiara of exquisite beauty and immense sentimental value returned to the Queen's collection. It was the lotus flower tiara. But with its return came a delicate question. How do you wear a jewel that is so completely intertwined with the memory of your own glamorous, vivacious sister? The tiara's story actually begins with their mother. Back in 1923, the future Queen Mother received a pearl and diamond necklace as a wedding gift from her husband. But with a flash of inspiration, she had it dismantled just 6 months later and transformed into this light, elegant tiara of lotus flowers. It was a piece she wore in her youth, before her life changed forever. In 1959, she gave the tiara to Margaret, and Margaret truly made it her own. It became one of her absolute signatures, a jewel she wore with such confidence and flair for decades, at state receptions, gala performances, and on royal tours. It became as much a part of her image as her famous wit. For years, everyone assumed this beloved jewel was Margaret's personal property and would be inherited by her children. So after her death in 2002, when the tiara didn't appear at that famous auction of her jewels, many believed it had quietly passed to her son. But then came a surprise. Years later, it was discovered that the tiara had actually returned to the Queen's collection. And when this jewel was now in her possession, Queen Elizabeth made a choice. She never wore it herself. Perhaps this tiara, which was perfect for a princess, was too simple for a queen. Or perhaps the tiara was too strongly associated with Margaret, and Elizabeth could not wear it. But she didn't lock it away forever. Instead, she continued her role as the monarchy's great curator. The tiara slept in the vaults for another decade, until 2013, when it reappeared, sparkling, on the Princess of Wales for a diplomatic reception. And since then, we've seen it on Catherine a few times, and most recently on the Duchess of Edinburgh. Once again, the Queen chose to give it a new life, a new chapter on a new generation. The story of the lotus flower tiara wasn't her story to wear, but it was hers to pass on. It's one thing to pass on a tiara so tied to the memory of a beloved sister. That feels understandable. But what are we to make of a tiara that symbolized the very peak of the British Empire? A crown that her grandfather himself called May's best tiara? A jewel so magnificent it was literally created for an empress. And yet, Queen Elizabeth II, who inherited it, who had every right to wear it, chose to leave it in the dark. This is the story of the Delhi Durbar tiara. Its story begins in 1911, at the absolute zenith of imperial power. King George V and Queen Mary traveled to India for the Delhi Durbar, a spectacular ceremony to mark their coronation as emperor and empress. For an event of such colossal scale, an ordinary tiara simply wouldn't do. So, Queen Mary did what she did best. She created a new one. She had her elegant Boucheron loop tiara dismantled, and its diamonds were completely reimagined by Gerard into this magnificent circlet. It was a wall of glittering lyres and S-scrolls, designed to be seen from a great distance, a true crown for an empress. It had its one great moment in the Indian sun, and even then, Queen Mary continued to tinker with it, wearing it with emeralds, and later with the colossal Cullinan diamonds. It was a jewel of immense power and presence. So what happened to it? Well, its journey into the shadows began with a familiar act of generosity. In 1946, Queen Mary loaned the tiara to her daughter-in-law, the future Queen Mother, for the royal family's tour of South Africa the following year. She wore it for that grand opening of Parliament in Cape Town, looking every bit a Queen Empress. And then, she never wore it in public again. For the remaining 55 years of her life, this masterpiece sat in her collection, but was never chosen. When Queen Elizabeth II inherited it from her mother in 2002, the silence continued. She, too, never wore this particular tiara in public. It's an almost baffling decision, isn't it? For a time, it seemed the Delhi Durbar tiara was destined to be a museum piece, admired in exhibitions, but never again to grace a royal head. But in 2005, the tiara was given a new chance. It was one of the 3 tiaras loaned by the Queen to her new daughter-in-law, the Duchess of Cornwall. That October, for a state banquet in honor of the Norwegian royal family, Camilla brought it back into the light. And since that one single glittering evening, it has returned to the vaults once more. A jewel so grand, it seems to be waiting for history to call upon it again. You know, royal jewelry collections don't just grow through inheritance and state gifts. Sometimes the most spectacular treasures arrive through an act of friendship. And that brings us to the story of a tiara so magnificent, it has become the signature jewel of our current queen, Queen Camilla. Its story begins not with a royal, but with a woman named Margaret Greville, a famous and incredibly wealthy society hostess. She was a close friend of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, and when she died in 1942, she left the majority of her breathtaking jewelry collection to the Queen Mother. In a letter to Queen Mary, the Queen Mother wrote, "I must tell you that Mrs. Greville has left me her jewels. Dear old thing. and I feel very touched. I do admire beautiful stones with all my heart. And what stones they were! The centerpiece of the collection was this tiara, created by Boucheron in 1921. It's often called the honeycomb tiara for its stunning geometric design of diamond-set honeycombs. Mrs. Greville had it made using diamonds from an even older tiara she owned. For the Queen Mother, this tiara became an absolute favorite. After the death of her husband, she wore it for decades, for state banquets, gala performances, and countless formal portraits. She even had it altered slightly by Cartier in 1953, adding a bit more height and a few more large diamonds to make it even more impressive. It became inextricably linked with her image as the nation's beloved matriarch. So, when the Queen Mother died in 2002, and this iconic tiara was inherited by her daughter, Queen Elizabeth II, everyone waited to see it. But the wait was in vain. Just as she had with the Delhi Durbar tiara, the Queen chose not to wear it. Whatever the reason, her decision had a wonderful consequence. In 2005, it became another of the long-term loans to the Duchess of Cornwall, and in Camilla's hands, the Greville tiara has been well and truly brought back to life. It has become her signature piece, the tiara she has worn more than any other for state banquets and diplomatic receptions around the world. It really makes you feel like Queen Elizabeth understood something profound about these jewels, that a spectacular piece like this wasn't meant for a vault. It was meant to be worn, to be seen. And by passing it to Camilla, she ensured that the legacy of her mother's favorite tiara would not just be preserved, but would continue to shine for a new generation. And that powerful Greville legacy didn't end with the tiara. In fact, there was another jewel from that famous black trunk, a piece of such staggering scale that it's often considered the grandest necklace in the entire Greville bequest. This is the Greville festoon necklace. It's a masterpiece from Cartier, and it holds a clever secret. It's actually two separate necklaces that can be worn together to create one monumental 5-row diamond cascade. The first 2-row section was made in 1929, and the smaller 3-row section was added 9 years later in 1938. For the Queen Mother, this necklace became one of her absolute signatures. She wore it in its full 5-row splendor for the most formal occasions, like state visits and coronation galas. For decades, this was the jewel she chose to project that warm, yet incredibly regal presence. So, when Queen Elizabeth inherited this legendary piece in 2002, the expectation was that we would finally see it on the reigning monarch. But it never happened. Just as with the Greville tiara, she chose to leave it in the vault. Whatever her reasoning, the necklace wasn't destined to stay hidden. It was passed on a long-term loan to Camilla, the then Duchess of Cornwall. Her debut in this magnificent piece took place in November 2007 at a Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting banquet in Uganda. For that evening, she wore the complete spectacular 5-row version. After that debut, Camilla has in fact worn this spectacular necklace on several important occasions, and she clearly continues to cherish it as queen. She recently chose a different configuration of the necklace for the important state banquet held for the American President, Donald Trump, and First Lady Melania Trump at Windsor Castle, wearing the shorter 3-row version for the first time. The magnificent waterfall of diamonds, so beloved by one Queen Mother, has truly found a new champion in Camilla, continuing to illuminate her path now as queen. The Greville bequest was a true treasure trove, a gift that kept on giving for decades. But within that famous black trunk, initialed MG, lay a secret so well kept, it remained hidden from the world for over 75 years. While the diamond honeycomb tiara became a star of the collection, its emerald sister piece was a ghost. This is the Greville Emerald Kokoshnik tiara. Created by Boucheron in 1919 for Mrs. Greville, it is a magnificent example of the fashionable Russian kokoshnik style. It's a wall of brilliant and rose-cut diamonds, paluhavi set in platinum, with 6 emeralds on either side. But the true star, the heart of the piece, is the colossal central emerald, a staggering 93.70 carats. It is, without a doubt, one of the most magnificent emeralds in the entire royal collection. And yet, for 76 years after it was bequeathed to the Queen Mother in 1942, it was never seen. The Queen Mother, a great lover of emeralds, never wore it. Queen Elizabeth II, who inherited it in 2002, also kept it hidden away. It was so unknown that for decades, its very existence was just a whisper, a rumor confirmed only by a single image discovered in the Boucheron archives by the historian Vincent Meilhan. It raises such a tantalizing question. Why? Why would the greatest emerald in the royal collection be left in the darkness of the vaults for so long? Was it too heavy, too fragile, or was it simply waiting for its perfect moment, its perfect wearer? That moment finally came on a bright October morning in 2018. As Princess Eugenie stepped out of her car at St. George's Chapel for her wedding to Jack Brooksbank, the world collectively gasped. There it was. After 3/4 of a century of silence, the Greville emerald tiara was back in the light, its magnificent central emerald blazing in the sunshine. It was a choice that perfectly captured the Queen's genius as a curator. She had kept this masterpiece in reserve, waiting for just the right occasion. And for her granddaughter's wedding, a day of immense family joy, she unveiled a true secret treasure. It was a beautiful, breathtaking moment, a perfect reminder that even when we think we know everything about the royal collection, it can still surprise us. Not every invisible tiara in the Queen's collection was a complete secret. Some she did wear, but so rarely, their appearances have become the stuff of legend among jewelry lovers. It's almost as if she tried them on for the world to see, and then quietly decided, no, this one isn't for me. Such is the story of the Aquamarine ribbon tiara. Its exact origins are a mystery, but this elegant diadem, with its 5 striking oval aquamarines set within clusters of diamond ribbons and bows, has a distinctly mid-century feel, and it has the distinction of being one of the rarest tiaras ever worn by Queen Elizabeth II. We have only one photograph, one single documented occasion, of her wearing it. The date was July 1970. The place was Yellowknife, in the Northwest Territories of Canada, during a royal tour. For a formal banquet, the Queen appeared in this beautiful aquamarine and diamond creation. And then, that was it. For the remaining 52 years of her reign, she never wore it in public again. It's such a curious case. The tiara is undeniably beautiful, and the cool blue of the aquamarines must have looked stunning. So why only once? Perhaps its light, almost delicate design felt a little too frivolous for the more formal, stately image she was cultivating. We can only guess. For decades, the tiara simply vanished. Many royal watchers even speculated that it had been dismantled, its stones used to augment her grander Brazilian aquamarine tiara. But it turned out the Queen had other plans for it. In 2012, after more than 40 years in the vaults, the tiara made a surprise reappearance. It was loaned to the then Countess of Wessex, who wore it to the pre-wedding gala in Luxembourg. Since then, it has become one of Sophie's most frequently worn pieces, and we've even seen it recently on Queen Camilla. It's clear that while the Queen herself may have set it aside, she certainly didn't consider it unsuitable for royal life. She simply saw it on someone else. And now, I have another, no less fascinating story for you. This time we go back even further, to the wedding of the Queen Alexandra in 1863, and to a necklace that would become a signature of the Queen Mother, only to fall silent for decades. Its story begins with a grand gesture of love. In 1863, the Prince of Wales, the future King Edward VII, commissioned a spectacular parure from Gerard as a wedding gift for his bride, Princess Alexandra of Denmark. The suite included a tiara, earrings, a brooch, and this magnificent necklace, composed of 8 large clusters of diamonds and pearls, with beautiful, detachable, pear-shaped pearl drops. Princess Alexandra wore it on her wedding day, and for decades after. But it was in the hands of the next generation that this necklace truly found its most devoted wearer. After Alexandra's death, it was passed to Queen Mary, who in 1936 gave it to her new daughter-in-law, the future Queen Mother. For the Queen Mother, this necklace became an absolute signature, For over 60 years, it was her go-to piece for the most important state occasions and portraits. She famously paired it with her grand Greville tiara, and that combination became synonymous with her unique brand of warm, regal grandeur. The last time she was seen wearing it was at a state banquet in 1993. And after that, silence. Following the Queen Mother's death in 2002, the necklace was inherited by Queen Elizabeth II. But once again, just as with her mother's other signature jewels, the Queen chose not to wear it. It simply disappeared from public view. For 16 years, this spectacular piece of history lay quiet in the vaults. You begin to wonder if some jewels are just too tied to one person, too filled with the memory of a particular era, to be worn again. And then, in October 2018, at a state banquet for the King and Queen of the Netherlands, there it was. Worn with such elegance by Catherine, the then Duchess of Cambridge. It was another perfect act of curation from Queen Elizabeth. She understood that this necklace's story wasn't over. She was simply waiting for the right person to begin its next chapter. Now, as we've seen, Queen Elizabeth had a very classic, timeless sense of style. And there was one particular style of necklace that she was famously not a fan of: the choker. So it's no surprise that our final piece is a jewel she never seemed tempted to wear herself. But she clearly saw its potential, and wasn't about to let it gather dust in the vaults. Our final story begins, as so many do, with Queen Mary and the treasures of the British Empire. During the magnificent Delhi Durbar in 1911, the ladies of India presented her with a spectacular gift of emeralds. 10 years later, in 1921, with her characteristic eye for reinvention, she had Garrard transformed the original necklace into this stunning Art Deco choker. It's a masterpiece of its time, with 14 brilliant emeralds set in platinum and diamonds. The choker was inherited by Queen Elizabeth II in 1953, but as chokers weren't to her personal taste, it simply sat in the vaults, unworn and unseen for decades. It was waiting for its icon. That icon arrived in 1981. The Queen gave the choker as a wedding gift, a lifetime loan, to Lady Diana Spencer. And in Diana's hands, the jewel was not just reborn, it was electrified. The Princess of Wales wore it frequently, its deep green a stunning complement to her style. But it was in 1985, during a tour of Australia, that she did something truly unforgettable. She wore the emerald choker not around her neck, but across her forehead as a bandeau. In that one iconic moment, she wasn't just wearing a jewel, she was creating a fashion legend. The choker that had been a gift for an empress and was overlooked by a queen had finally found the princess who would make it world famous. After Diana's tragic death, the choker returned to the Queen's collection and fell silent once more. It was so strongly linked to her memory that it felt almost impossible to picture anyone else wearing it. Until, in 2022, it made another quiet, respectful return. The new Princess of Wales, Catherine, wore it to the Earthshot Prize ceremony in Boston. It wasn't worn as a bandeau, but as the elegant choker Queen Mary had first envisioned. From an empress's treasure to a style icon statement piece, and now to a future queen's tribute, this jewel has truly lived 3 lives. And so, the stories of these magnificent jewels come to a close for today. We've seen some of the most iconic treasures from the Queen's collection, pieces she owned, but for one reason or another, chose to love from a distance. Instead, she passed them on, allowing them to shine on her sister, her daughter, and her daughters-in-law, ensuring their stories would continue. And I think that's a truly wonderful part of her legacy. Now, I would love to hear from you. Which of these spectacular jewels do you find the most breathtaking? And which one are you hoping to see make a reappearance soon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If you enjoyed this journey into the royal vaults, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell. It would mean so much to me to have you here for the next story.